Hi guys, so I want to do a quick demonstration of curly hair. And again, it's going to be laying in the general value and then adding details and texture to it. So this hair is thick, it's curly, it goes all the way out here, but there's a lot of curls right in here. So I'm going to match the general value. And also I just did a super quick sketch of the face. It's not 100% accurate. It's just super quick, just so that I'm not drawing hair without a face to it. So the first thing I want to do is look at the darkest area of my hair and think of it as a shape. So it's looking like it's right between here and here, maybe closer to here. So I want to get my darks about that dark. So that's pretty far. It's like right around between this and this. All right, so I'm going to start with that. And it will show that my face is too light, but that's okay. I'm just sketching in the face as again, just to give you some sense of reference. So you'll notice I'm not even doing like there's a front and a back right here. I'm not even really concentrating on that, although maybe I will. And I'm going to shade this, but I'm also going to use a blending stump. I'm going to just use a regular pencil and then a blending stump. And then right here, there's some tendrils that kind of come out, and I'm going to leave a little room for that. Also, I'm going to have to go a little darker than this, but this is just the first pass. So I'm going to leave a little white area here. And again, trying to go in the general direction that the hair grows is a helpful thing to do. Okay, I'm also gonna have to lay in, so this is a little bit better in terms of the darkness. It was a little light on the other side. And I'm gonna erase out some of the texture and the curls. So I wanna go a little darker and erase out the highlights. So overall, when I erase out the highlights and erase out some of the curl textures, the whole thing will look a little bit lighter. All right, so there's my base color. Now what I want to do is go back to some of the areas that I know are darker, like right in here. This is as dark as it gets. That's my darkest area probably in the whole portrait. And just so it's a little bit more integrated, I'll blend that into the neck a little bit. And I'm not going to fuss with it. I'm just going to do it real quickly there. And there's a little bit more darks here. And again, this is not 100% accurate, but I just want to move this along. Okay, so then it's sort of like there's some darks here. There's some darker darks here. And there's kind of a darker dark that runs up through here. So now that I've established the general shading color, I'm kind of going back into it and getting my darks and lights. Just a little bit darker here. I see some darks that run up here and then over here. And then there's kind of like a lighter area there. So this is super dark back over here. So I'm approaching this as an overall shape. All right, so that's kind of the general shape at this point in time. All right, now I'm going to take my blending stump to this. And I'm going to probably blend out the background because I don't want that to be super sharp. I want the focus to be up in the face area, not like on the back of the hair. All right, and get some tendrils kind of down here. Okay, now that I have kind of the basic, and again, I would kind of go darker with the eyes, but I'm not really worrying about kind of balancing that out right now, even though I seem to want to do that. Okay, now that I have some of the basics, now I want to go back. I want to soften this a little bit. So you want to look for the places that you should soften. And I want to add a little bit of the curves that kind of come down. And add a little bit here. And now I can do that with, I would still keep the pencil tilted and add some, maybe kind of in groups. So kind of following a couple of hairs that kind of come down and around, but not a ton of them. You want to add the general texture, but not the individual hairs. And then after this, we're going to go ahead and put in some highlights, and then we're going to do the last bit of touching up. So this is adding a little bit of the texture to it. Now I can kind of go back with my kneaded eraser and just think of where like the highlights would be. Think of where you would hit, the light would hit and catch a little bit of the reflection. And there might be a little in a row, like 1, 2, 3 in a row, 1, 2, 3 kind of in a row. And you might also hit like an area like right up and down this area. That gets a little bit lighter. And this is really good to make a point right here. So you can see I'm starting to add overall texture. And then down here you can kind of add some more tendrils and erase some areas out if it's looking a little bit too solid. And then add some more areas in if it needs to be loosened up a little bit. Ultimately, there's probably shoulders that go over here and take up this area. Probably the shoulders kind of come out here. So you might have some areas that have a lot of highlights, and you might have them kind of equal all over and no particular area with a highlight. It depends on how shiny your hair is and the overall texture. Okay, so here I'm adding in, and you could also, if you have a white pencil, this is a good example of where you could take a white pencil and just add some additional highlights. So there might be some areas like here, there below the highlight, there tends to be some darks. Below the highlight is the shadow part. You don't want it, you want it to be a little irregular, but you can go ahead and add them in and just kind of make it look random. So you're going back and forth with the kneaded eraser and the blending stump and the pencil until you go ahead and get a texture that you feel comfortable with and represents the texture of your hair. I think the key here is to make sure that the kneaded eraser is nice and sharp and that you're just doing small little areas. there's small little curls. So you would have just a little bit of highlight on them. And then here where you have the front portion kind of draping out, it might be a little bit lighter. And then darker in here. Okay, so that's giving you the overall approach for curly hair.